My name is Alyssa, and we're going to talk about ducks. I don't know, that was probably the worst accent ever, but Texas, y'all. Back to Play, Learn, and Grow. My name is Alyssa, and today we are back with Corianne from the Abilene Zoo, the bird rehab specialist, correct?
Yes.
Yes. And we're going to talk about ducks today and how they relate to our parks here in Abilene. So you see a lot of ducks at the bird rehab, right? And you'll care for them?
We'll care for ducks and baby ducks when they come in, so it's really cute when those guys
come
in.
Fun. Yeah. So then can you share with us also some information about ducks and parks, and just update us on some information that we may need to know for the community?
Yeah. So all of the ducks that we get into rehab are actually brought by the community. So you guys are finding all the ducks and bringing them to us. Unfortunately, there are two types of ducks that are out on our ponds. There's domestic ducks, so those are the ones that you get at the feed store or the pet store. You know, you keep them and then you decide that you don't want them anymore and you just think, it's a duck, it's okay, and you release it out onto the pond. So that's one type of duck. And then the other type of duck are our native ducks that are moving through the area.
Okay.
So there's two types. We are able to rehab the native ducks, but not the domestic ducks, because those are technically pets.
Yes, okay.
And domestic ducks are actually pretty bad for our ponds, our parks, and our environment, just because they do a lot of damage and they push our native ducks out. So they're going to eat all the food, and then the ducks that are naturally occurring here aren't going to have as much to eat. So they're going to have to move on, which is only going to leave us those pet ducks, even though they don't really belong in our environment.
So then what's suggested is to have like the domestic ducks stay domesticated and cared for at people's properties, not necessarily out in the wild, because that's not their rightful home.
Yep, that's not their home. It's kind of like adopting a dog and then just releasing it on the street when you don't want it anymore.
Okay, yeah.
So the difference between, you know, like a wolf and a dog.
Yeah.
They're just two different animals.
Okay.
So if you are going to get a duck, you know, it's best to responsibly own it. So don't let it just fly around and get away from you. Make sure you're keeping it on your property. Make sure that you're not deciding that you don't want it anymore and you're just releasing it into the wild, because it's not a wild animal, it's a pet duck.
Yeah. Yeah, and then there's also about like feeding the ducks and what that may look like. So can you share more information about that?
I know a lot of people really love going to the ponds and feeding ducks. It's pretty fun. They're really cute. They come over to you, they start quacking, and it's a really fun experience.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, what we are feeding normally is bread, and bread really isn't even a good food for humans to eat. Yeah. So it's definitely not the best choice for our ducks. Our ducks are not going to be able to go to a grocery store and just pick up a loaf of bread, so that's not a natural food.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So we want to pick foods that are more natural for those ducks. Bread can actually make them sick and even cause obesity. And if a duck gets too fat, it's not going to be able to fly, which means it's not going to be able to migrate, it's not going to be able to find a mate. So that's going to really detriment that animal's life. Feeding more natural foods, something like cracked corn, lettuce, peas, or even feed from the feed store, a wild waterfowl pellet. That is going to be a lot more healthy and safe for those animals. You're not going to get digestive issues. It's not going to fill up their stomach and make them think they're not hungry. It's just more natural and a better food source for them as opposed to bread.
So if we are actually going to feed the ducks, that don't feed them bread, it's just that natural food that they will thrive on. So well, thank you for sharing with us all this information, and we will see you guys next time on our next Play, Learn, and Grow. Thanks, bye.